Hello, Nevada Realtors. Chris Bishop here, your host of It's Not Soup Yet. I've got two very special guests. Of course, our 2023 president, Mr. Tom Blanchard. Tom, welcome.
Thank you.
And we have our legislative chairman, your 2019 Nevada Realtors president, Mr. Keith Lynam. Keith, welcome to It's Not Soup Yet.
Thank you, thank you. And I wanted to take just 2 seconds. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to say because I know you guys were why this whole soup thing, and why it's called not soup yet, and I think that's a precursor that what everybody needs to understand, especially in the beginning. Here's why it's called it's not soup yet. A bill comes out, and the members lose their mind because it comes out and they're going to spastic over everything. And I was back then saying, look, the bone just got in the pot. The water has just been added. We got to boil down the bone. Then we put the vegetables in. Then we put. It's not soup yet. Let's wait until it gets on the other side before we lose our shit. Right? We can say that in this day and age. So that's why it's called It's Not Soup Yet. When the bill comes out, is not the time to lose your minds, people. Let us go through the process and trust people like Tom Blanchard. As hard as that may be, we need to trust people like Tom and his leadership abilities. So there you go.
Well, I definitely appreciate the analogy, Keith, and it makes a lot of sense because the first reaction to some of the bills is usually a bad one,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of changes that happen during the legislative session. So a couple of things we're going to talk about today. Just a reminder, everyone, to make sure that you're getting and reading your advocate from Nevada Realtors, providing that great information on the session update. Keith, we didn't have the opportunity to chat with you last time on the first episode, and so we're happy to have you here today. Tell us a little bit what's going on in your world as the legislative chairman and working with your legislative management team.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I think everybody has to understand is it's a 2 year term on legislative, and so being the chair for the last 2 year plus now, what we do during the what we call the even years is we are still meeting with legislators. We're still meeting with decision makers. We're still going through those things that happened the previous session, and we're trying to get as much agreement, as many groups together as we can, so that when we do hit the session and those bills that come out, and they will come out, the landlord tenant, rent control, all that stuff, again, don't lose your minds. But we have already met with a lot of these groups and a lot of the stakeholders to try to agree to as much as we can before. And that really is the last year of our term has been built on building relationships, just like we do in our business, building those relationships so that we can come in and agree to a lot of things before the session even starts.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to share a little bit about the amazing team that you guys have put together for our LMT. Keith, of course, your leadership as chairman, and you are a seasoned leader in this group and have had the privilege of doing it before and guiding us through sessions. We have Azim Jessup, your legislative vice chair, Mr. Tom Blanchard, our president on there, Mr. Trevor Smith, our president-elect. We have Vana Nabala, Noah Herrera, Jeffrey Lavelle, Marissa Lostra, Greg Martin, Doug McIntyre, Kevin Sigstad, Brad Spires, and Mr. David Artina. I mean, that's the who's list of Nevada real estate. You have some great minds in that room helping you seek through those bills.
Yeah, and let me just add to that because it's a group from all over Nevada,
Yeah.
right? It's not just folks here in Vegas. We have people in Elko, people in Reno. It's all over the state, and it's important to get everybody's buy-in and input when we go through these bills.
Yeah, and when you talk about soup, Keith, it makes a lot of sense because there's so many ingredients in many of them, and there's different parts of our state that will be affected. So definitely can understand why you have people from all over those groups. Keith, let's talk about what's come up so far. What is the primary issue that hit right off the bat?
There's been a lot of back chatter on landlord tenant rent control. Um, Neither which of those bills have been launched yet. We've met and have been meeting with one of our realtor champions, Assemblywoman, who's the majority leader, Sandra Haudegi. She's one of our realtor champions, and she will be dropping a bill that is going to deal with a lot of those landlord tenant, those kinds of things. That's one of the bills that we've agreed to a lot of the things that'll go into it. We're still going to try to maybe improve on some of that, but for the most part, that's been agreed to. there's going to be summary eviction stuff that is coming, and that's it's not soup yet, people. When it comes out, it's we gotta take a look at it. Some of that, because of our relationships, won't see the light of day, and that should be there. But the more we freak out, the less likely we are able to calm those things down. It's like everything else. Your spouse comes home and tells you how wrong you are. How does that make you feel? As normal as that may be for both of you guys, for your spouse to walk in and tell you how wrong you are, it doesn't make you feel very good nonetheless, right? So that's
Well,
kind
I'm
of the
just
same
lucky it
thing we're
never
dealing
happens.
Well, it
with.
happens to me all the time, and there's just special ways to deal with it all. But what I want to talk about also is the fact that it's so much better. We spent the last year working with the stakeholders and politicians to be part of the answer
Sure.
to fix what is perceived to be the issues, right? So when Sandra comes out with the bill, it may have a lot of the stuff that we wanted in there, but it'll also have some other stuff in there because other people put their hands in the soup and stir it up a little bit. So we work on getting it fixed, and diluted if needed, and make sure that everything works out right.
Makes perfect sense. And as I sift through all of the analogies we've been throwing around in this production, a couple of bills that have come out, Keith, that we know of for sure. Senate Bill 68 that is addressing a critical needs fund for the transfer tax, and of course Senate Bill 96, which is looking at the property tax cap and
The
how it's
formula, yeah.
formalized. So we knew going into the session, of course, as it happens every year, taxes are an important issue, especially coming out of the COVID crisis and things that we saw. We saw that in the last session. Keith, what are you looking for in these bills that are concerning to realtors and to Nevadans?
Yeah, I think the first thing is we have had a standard of just this is the line we do not cross, and one of those is point of sale,
Mhm.
and anything that's triggered because of a sale of a piece of property, A, B, and C have to occur, and this needs great great cause, right? Who can not try to find affordable housing and seniors and those that are less, but at what cost? And that being another thing that this transfer tax is an unstable tax. It's great when we're having historical transactions, but the last quarter have not been historical transactions. They've been the opposite. So it's if we've learned anything here in Nevada, it's that we cannot rely on those kinds of triggers like the transfer tax to fund anything because it's not going to be able to fund it to the adequate levels that it needs to. So that's almost a non-starter for us. And the other stuff is, sometimes you just got to let things. When someone's shooting at themselves, you just give them more bullets. You don't try to help them. You just hand them more bullets. Some of that stuff you don't need to worry about.
Sure. And I think I've noticed over the sessions that I've witnessed for a number of years, when it came to taxing our industry and sales tax on service and things like that, that has been the line in the sand. And one of the ones we've discussed many times is the property tax calculation. Many Nevadans know that the property tax come out to primary residence is a 3% cap, investment property is an 8% cap. What do you see happening with that?
First of all, there is no caps. It's they put it into an account. So if your bill goes up 5%, yeah, it's capped at 3%, but that 2% goes in a little account. And
Sure.
so when it reverses itself and goes down to 1%, well, they're still bumping you up 3%. So it all equals out. So that part of it is nutty. But here's what I tell everybody about property taxes. I get, oh, they're so complicated to figure out. Who cares? I don't know how my iWatch works either. I don't know how my iPhone works either. I don't care. It just works when I want it to work. I don't need to build the damn thing. So quit worrying about how they figure it out and just realize this: they achieve here in Nevada, and we want to keep it that way to keep investment coming in and people moving in.
Yeah,
Yep.
I couldn't agree with you more, Keith, that, one of the attractions to our state is the low property tax ratio that we
Yep.
have compared to everything else. And I definitely don't want to see my property taxes increase like it is in some of our neighboring states for sure. It would hurt the real estate market. Well, Keith, thank you for being here today. We're trying to keep these
A little short.
Yep.
soup recipes as short and concise as possible, but we know you and your LMT team is working hard. And again, Tom, we thank you for all you're doing up there or wherever you're at the certain moment.
You never know.
I know you guys travel back and forth to Carson quite a bit, but thank you both for what you're doing. And to all my good Nevada realtor friends out there, remember, it's not soup yet.